This is Detective Tobias Yeager. The date is December 24th, 2013. After spending the last few months combing through hundreds of VHS tapes, interviewing local townsfolk, and examining all the evidence found at the property, I believe I now truly understand the full story of the incident known as the Muerto County Massacre. This whole story begins around a century ago with a Native American tribe known as the Tonkawa. This group of Texas Redskins had a sacred practice of consuming the flesh of their enemies. They believed the more you fed, the closer you would become to God. They would experience hallucinations of past loved ones, UFOs orbiting in the sky above them, as well as what could only be described as some sort of variation of the Northern Lights. The Tonkawa were also responsible for fighting for the Confederacy during the Civil War. In fact, many natives fought against the North because the South promised to let them live outside of the reservations where they had been placed. Thank Christ, the United States government stepped in and ripped their power away from them. Damn savages. Anyway, the Tonkawa tribe is the ancestry of the man who put this whole nightmare in motion, W.E. Sawyer. A shifty man known only in local Cohen community legend. It is believed his father was a drummer boy for the Confederacy during the Civil War and raised him with such beliefs. A proud Texan, W.E. would expand the small shack the family lived on into a fully functioning cattle farm. He built their barn with his own two hands. Starting a business with nothing and working hard, an arranged marriage would be set in motion, in which he would copulate with Edna Sawyer, a local white disabled girl. They would have one child together. Clancy Sawyer, known as the King of Texas, was a pillar in the rural community of Cohen. The son of Edna and W.E. Sawyer, he grew up on the slaughter farm, learning the family trade of butchering. As a child, his mother Edna would begin to notice his manhood developing and would take action by beginning a sexual relationship with her son. This would make W.E. violently jealous, yet surprisingly, he would never confront Clancy or Edna about this. He would only hurt others nearby. Clancy and Edna sired two children, Zeke and Sadie. But Clancy wouldn't stop there. When Sadie was old enough, Clancy would rape and impregnate her when she was just 12 years old. With a new baby on the way, Clancy decided to abandon them to pursue his true dream of becoming a businessman. Clancy decided to attend Austin State University and graduated with a master's in business and communications. After being the first person to graduate college in the family, he would go on to attempt to create various businesses over the years, all over Austin and Dallas, Texas. All of these businesses would fail. Meanwhile, while Clancy was away, Sadie gave birth to their child, Kenny Sawyer, who W.E. hated. With Clancy away, no one was there to stop W.E. from taking back control of the house. One beautiful day, W.E. wheeled his wife Edna out into their field. He murdered her with a shotgun. He took young Kenny Sawyer outside to a cow trailer on the property and locked him in there. This is where Kenny would spend the majority of his young life. Years later on the farm, Kenny would break free from his binds and brutally execute W.E. Sawyer with his bare hands. With this horrifying incident taking place, Zeke and Sadie had no one to turn to for guidance. They needed a way to take care of themselves, and to take care of their mongoloid younger brother's son. They reached out to their father, Clancy Sawyer. He was more than happy to take the call. He returned home immediately, taking over the business in Cohen. Not only did he turn it into a wildly successful meat business, but he also began to open other businesses. He bought an old gas station, a barbecue restaurant, a trailer park, and began his other lifelong dream of being a preacher in the community. He opened up the Yellow Harvest Baptist Church in downtown Cohen, a place where over the years many children would disappear. Clancy expanded the meat business. He got a contract with many grocery store chains throughout Texas and the greater United States. Business was good. Clancy would renovate the trailer park and set up a residence there, where he and his son Zeke would live, while Sadie and Kenny would manage the farm. Clancy would also force his daughter to prostitute herself out on the streets of downtown Cohen in order to make extra money for herself and the family. Clancy began going on many business trips throughout the United States, forming connections and broadening his empire. Not only did he make friends with some of the most influential people in the United States, he would also become close with Jeffrey and began shipping meat directly to multiple spots in New York, Florida, and Little St. James. After a few years of staying busy, the well-to-do businessman decided to settle down and focus on his hometown of Cohen, Texas. He began to create various charities and youth outreach programs through his church, in which he hoped to help Cohen flourish into a thriving community. The gods of Texas would smile upon Clancy once more when they allowed him to sublet a tri-duplex in the downtown Cohen area. It's at this point investigators believed that the self-proclaimed King of Texas began to hear the voice of God. It instructed him to revert back to the old ways of his father and his father's tribe, the Tonkawa practice of cannibalism. Or he just got sick and tired of buying cattle, and instead decided to start kidnapping local hitchhikers, passers-by, young children from his church and local playgrounds, and also carry out multiple mass kidnappings of the elderly from a nearby retirement community. And then overnight, Clancy vanished. He disappeared like smoke from the public eye. No more commercials, no more public appearances, no more Sunday sermons. A death certificate was filed by Zeke, claiming he died from a heart attack, but now, only years later, do we know this was phony. Ezekiel collected a $3 million life insurance policy and took over all the family's businesses. Now in reality, we know some sort of skirmish happened on that farm at some point. Kenny and Zeke turned against Clancy and Sadie. Sadie would be murdered, and Clancy would be mangled into a disabled vegetable. He would spend the remainder of his days in a slop room, shitting in pots, drinking his own urine to survive. After a deep analysis on his body, it's clear Kenny was keeping him alive for all these years in a vegetative state. When police began to descend on the property, Kenny Sawyer's final revenge was to burn the disabled Clancy to death in the back garden fire pit. It might be better to fade away than burn out.